Assessors to order at 9 a.m. on Thursday, May 21st, 2020. I've been asked to read this opening statement. It's rather lengthy, so please bear with me. Good morning and welcome to the May 21st, 2020 Board of Assessors meeting. As chair of the Board of Assessors, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing WebEx through the city's Information Technology Department for this electronic meeting. All members of the Board of Assessors have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen into this meeting through dialing the following number, 978-990-5298. Once again, that number is 978-990-5298. And using the password 273974. Once again, the password is 273974. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashua.newhampshire.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashua Public Library. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or Channel 16, please call 603-821-2049. Once again, that number is 603-821-2049, and they will help you connect. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start by taking a roll call attendance. Mr. Early?
Here.
And you need to state.
I'm sorry. I'm
But-
Bob Early. I'm at my home and no one else is in the room.
Thank you. Mr. Bergeron?
Paul Bergeron, a member of the Board of Assessors, and following the governor's advisory to stay home, I'm also joining the meeting remotely from my home, and no one else is in the room with me.
Thank you. And I'm Daniel Hansberry, and I'm joining the meeting remotely, and no one is in the room with me. Today, we will be hearing various requests as listed on the agenda. Please note that decisions may be taken under advisement, and involved parties will be notified at a later date. For the City of Nashua bylaws, a minimum of 2 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any application. In addition, this board will hear any and all scheduled cases as long as quorums of 2 voting board members present at this meeting. Any citizen has the right to contest the decision that this board makes. To appeal a municipality's decision on an abatement application, the taxpayer may appeal to either the Board of Tax and Land Appeals or to the Superior Court, but not to both. Please contact the assessing department for more information. Ms. Cameron, are there any changes to today's agenda?
There are none.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions before we begin?
Nope.
No.
All right. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of the Public Board of Assessors meeting from May 7th, 2020, accept them and place them on file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any errors or corrections? Here on page 16. If you go to the bottom quarter of the page and next to the last where it says Mr. Hansberry, To be clear on this, is the proposed abatement, the assessed value of it should be $213,200. So it should be 213,200. Are there any other errors or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as corrected? Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. The motion is adopted. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the non-public session, which was held on May 7th, 2020, accept them and place them on file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any errors or corrections? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented? Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes, motion is adopted. At this time, I would recognize Kimberly Kleiner, who is the Director of Administrative Services, for a department update. Ms. Kleiner.
Good morning. So this week, we handled it a little differently. The letter was in the board's packet that was delivered with the agenda last Friday. Mostly today, we wanted to discuss not only what's been going on in the department, but have discussion surrounding 2 new temporary policies for your consideration. We, as normal, we're working remotely. We have had more staff coming into the office on a rotating basis. Things are progressing nicely. We have finished. The tax bills were mailed out by the tax department this week. Everything has been progressing very nicely. Where we are, though, is we need to move forward with the abatements, that applications that have been filed for 2019. And with that comes the challenge of doing an interior inspection. So one of the policies that was delivered in your packet is a temporary policy that we would like to bring forward, which includes a residential abatement questionnaire, which is a letter that would be accompanied by the questionnaire. Each residential property owner who has filed a 2019 abatement would receive this letter and questionnaire. The assigned assessor would then follow up with a phone interview, and additional documentation may be requested, which may include photos. So I'd like to, if it's acceptable to the board, open this up for any discussion so that we could make any changes. We would like to get started on this process as early as tomorrow morning.
Are there questions for Ms. Kleiner?
Well, go ahead, Bob.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I was just wondering, would it be easier to request the photos right up front instead of coming back, or is that too much effort we're asking of our residents to do?
Well, the building department has adopted something very similar for building permits. The difference is they're working with contractors. So the contractors want their work approved so that they can obviously get paid by the property owner. And they've had good luck with receiving photos. We're not quite sure what capacity, number one, the residents have to email us the photos. Number two, are they really required? You know, the assessors will get a better indication on what they will need photos from by that phone interview. So the thought it was, if we have the phone interview then the assessors can determine, yes, this is something I really need to see, and I'm gonna request that you email me directly the photos.
All
So
of
that
our
we-
board members, so.
I understand that, and actually, as I think a little deeper into it, we shouldn't assume that everybody has access to email and electronic photographic equipment and can conveniently send the photos to us. So, um, thank you for your response, and I appreciate the approach.
And if I may, we have installed, so the city has installed a large drop-off box in the back of City Hall on the Elm Street entrance. And we will let them know at that time, if they have printed photos, they could drop them in that drop box.
Okay,
Anything further, Mr. Bergeron?
nothing from me. Thank you.
Mr. Early?
No, I was going to ask the same thing about getting the pictures up front, but I understand that, not everybody has that capability, so.
So, Ms. Klein, you'd like us to act on this request, is that correct?
Yes, please.
All right. So is there a motion to approve the temporary policies due to the COVID-19 pandemic?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All right, I'll
Is
call
there-
the roll. I'm sorry.
Are we putting a limit on how long this will be, or just,
Ms. Klein, does it want to be open-ended at this point?
I would. One of the challenges we have right now, and I'm not sure if anyone had the opportunity to listen to the budget review meeting last evening, but Mayor Donchis spoke about some of the challenges that we're having with the reopening of City Hall. We've left that open-ended at this point. We have realized that due to social distancing concern, both for the public and for our employees, that there are some building modifications that will need to take place. So we are working, a team of us, to put together some recommendations for some actual building improvements that would happen in the motor vehicle area, the tax area, the city clerk area, and assessing. So depending upon how long that construction actually takes, it may be that our staff has to work remotely a little longer than would have been anticipated.
All right. Other questions? Other questions from Ms. Klein?
no?
All right, so all those in favor of the motion, Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Ms. Klein, I have a question. It's amazing how fast time goes by. I was wondering, would it be possible to have Vision at the next meeting to provide an update? At that point, it would become a quarterly update because we met with them in March to kick off the process, and it'll be June by the time we see them. So I would think that it would be appropriate to at least get an update on a quarterly basis, maybe even more frequently than that. But I guess we'll start with a quarterly update. Is that possible?
Absolutely. I will reach out and schedule Miss Perry and her team for the next board meeting.
Is that agreeable with the rest of the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. All right, anything else, Ms. Kleiner? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, there are no communications, staff items. Lindsay Monahan with the solar exemptions. Ms. Monahan, are you with us?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to welcome you to the department and congratulate you on your appointment. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You can go ahead with your presentation.
Yes. So this morning we have 6 solar exemptions for you, and we recommend that those be approved.
So is there a motion to approve the solar exemptions as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Any questions? All right, I will then call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Ms. Monahan, back to you.
Thank you. I do have one other item. I have one exemption for improvements to assist a handicapped individual.
So is there a motion to approve the improvements to assist persons with disabilities exemption as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All right, I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Do you have anything else for us, Ms. Monahan?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda would be Ms. Brown regarding a timber tax warrant. Ms. Brown?
Good morning, Louise Brown with the Assessing Department. I do have one person who submitted a report of wood or timber cut. So we just need to send out a warrant for the bill. And I would note that the warrant itself does have the incorrect map and lot number. It should be G488, and that will be corrected before you sign the warrant, and it is mailed to the taxpayer.
All right.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the tax warrant as presented in the amount of 160, with a noted correction, in the amount of $169.20? And that will be assessed to Pennachuck Waterworks Incorporated, 25 Manchester Street, Merrimack, New Hampshire, 03054.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Is there any discussion? All right, once again, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Do you have anything else for us, Ms. Brown?
That is all that I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this time I will recognize Ms. Cameron.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Lynn.
Ms. Cameron, is the representative from the Micro Society Academy Charter School Foundation with us?
Yeah.
He is. And who, could you introduce them, please?
There's Amy. Amy, I'll let you introduce yourself. I'm not sure your position there. I'm Amy Bottomley. I'm the director at Micro Society Academy.
Good morning. I'm Deanne Hansberry. The other board members are Paul Bergeron and Bob Early.
Hello.
Morning.
So is there,
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is Tom Doherty. I'm the board chairman for the trustees of the Micro Society Academy.
how do you know, Dan Hansberry? Once again, the other board members are Bob Early and Paul Bergeron. Do we have any questions for the representatives from the Micro Society Charter School?
I have a question about the purchase of the building. It shows it was purchased Haven NNN Investment, it looks like.
That is correct.
Is that a separate group or is?
No, it was a venture company that had multiple real estate dealings out of Chicago. Haven Investments, or Haven NNN, went into bankruptcy court, and it afforded the opportunity for the Micro Society to secure the building. They were an early provider to help the school get started by providing some angel funding to get there. But with their bankruptcy, again, it afforded us the opportunity to pick up the building so that we can now secure our future from a school standpoint, but also now be recognized under our charter, which is a not-for-profit education.
Okay, that's the only question I had.
Other questions? Okay.
No.
I have a question based on the state of New Hampshire RSA, and let me just quote this to you. It says, provided none of the income or profits are divided among the members or stockholders or used or appropriated for any other purpose than the purpose for which they are organized or established. I just need to verify, does the school meet that criteria?
Yes, sir.
Does. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Nope.
No.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the educational exemption for the Micro Society Academy Charter School Foundation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Is there any discussion? All right, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity. I hope you all be well and be safe.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Cameron,
Yes.
we have the religious and educational exemptions next.
Correct. That is a partial list. We are still working on reviewing more A9, and working on that as well as the charitable.
Do we have any questions on that list, on the religious and educational exemptions list?
I just have one. Are there any new applications here or requests for the exemptions this year versus, let's say, last year or the year prior to that? Are these just annual renewals essentially?
The list you have currently are all renewals. We do have 5 or 6 new ones, but they're not on your list yet. We're still in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Early?
Is the Nashua Area Artists Association, is that a new one that we're going to be denying, or?
The Nashua Area Artists has moved into a building that is not owned by a nonprofit. They used to rent from the Hunt Community Building, which was a nonprofit, and they were eligible for exemption. Now that they're renting from or leasing from a regular company, they don't qualify.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the religious and educational exemptions as provided per list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Okay, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. And the questions on the denial, have those been answered? Everybody's satisfaction?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to deny the religious and educational exemptions as presented for the attached list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Cameron.
Welcome. Thank you.
If there is no unfinished business, we have no appointments. Are there any comments by board members?
Nope.
I would just like to offer a couple of comments, if I might.
Absolutely.
Since our last meeting, one of the vision assessors came to my property. Now, I live in a townhome condominium complex. There are a lot of people that are walking in the neighborhood, and there's really no need, I thought, for him to be knocking on our doors to say that he was walking around the neighborhood as well. But the gentleman was very, very friendly and courteous. I appreciated that he came to my door, told me he was in the area. He stepped back 6 feet as we were having our conversation. And I just appreciated that. I really didn't think there was a need for him to be knocking on a townhouse door when there's so many people in the neighborhood anyway. But I appreciated the fact that they took the time, and I appreciate the professionalism that they showed.
I guess in response to that, Mr. Bergeron, I guess we're not going to keep everybody happy. They were up in Ward 1, and it was a condo complex also. And the person said that a number of the residents were caught off guard and wondered why they were up there wandering around. And I said to the person, I said, one, everybody received a letter notifying them they would be in the area. Two, I thought when the Telegraph was still publishing that I thought the Telegraph did a pretty good job alerting the people to the fact. And three, I don't know if it's still streaming, but it had been streaming across the public access station that the company was going to be out and about in Ward 1 at that time. So I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
You know?
If I could just offer a guess, it's what might happen in some instances. A number of the units where I live are rentals. And so if notices, public notices are mailed to the property owners and the owner of the property doesn't convey that information to the renter, oftentimes the renters aren't aware of activities that are going on in their area. And I've seen that happen in our complex sometimes when it's dealing with road paving or trash pickup or a lot of other little issues that just get email blasted or mailed out to the owners and it's never conveyed to the renters. I'm not saying that's what happened in this particular case, but it's a situation that can occur at certain times.
Right. Okay. Any other board member comments?
I'd just like to say, as a former condo association manager, I know that many owners are very concerned about anybody walking the property, solicitations or political activists or whatever. So it may be that even though they saw the notices, as soon as they see someone they don't recognize, they immediately make calls. And I've had that myself, many times. So I think it goes in with the condominium living, especially the owners.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Attorney Leonard, have you joined us?
Oh,
Yeah, I've been here.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
All right. Okay. So, is there a motion to go into non-public session for the consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel, either in writing or orally, or to one or more members of the public body, even where legal counsel is not present?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. And joining us in non-public session will be Ms. Kleiner, the Director of Administrative Services, Deputy Corporation Counsel, Celia Leonard. Is there a need for anyone else to join us, Ms. Kleiner?
No, I don't believe there is, and I will confirm with CTV that the bridge, and that you are clear to continue.
All right, I'll wait till I hear from you.
Okay.
And
set, Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, so we left non-public at 9:36. Is there a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session because development of the information likely would, one, affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this public body, and two, render the proposed action ineffective?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Okay. Is there a motion to approve settlement agreement 12 Briarcliff Drive in the amount of $285,000 for tax years 2018 and 2019?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All right, I will call the roll. Mr.
Oh.
Early?
Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, I apologize. This settlement agreement speaks to future years until the property is either in good faith reappraised during a reevaluation process or there's been changes to the property. I just wanted, maybe the motion should be clear whether or not that's included. If it's not, or if it's just going to be for tax years 2018 and 19.
Okay. All right, so for tax years 2018, 2019, and subsequent years, unless there are changes to the property?
Correct, as reflected in the written settlement agreement.
Okay. All right, so for tax years 2018, 19, and subsequent years, unless there are changes made to the property as reflected in the settlement agreement. Are we okay with that?
Also, shouldn't it say in the motion or until there is a general reassessment in the municipality?
Yes,
Or why don't we, who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, are you willing to withdraw your motion?
Yes.
And I'll withdraw the second.
Withdraw the second. Okay, Mr. Bergeron, do you want to go ahead and make the motion?
Okay, I shall. I would move to accept the settlement agreement for the property at 12 Briarcliff Drive, for the assessed value of $285,000 for tax year 2018 and 2019, and for future years until such time as there is a general reassessment in the municipality or there are changes to the property requiring a change in the assessment value.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is that satisfactory, Attorney Leonard?
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any discussion? All right, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes, the motion is adopted. Okay. Thank you very much, Attorney Leonard. All right. So, is there a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical B, relative to the hiring of any person as a public employee?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. So we are back in non-public at, well, by my watch, at 9:41. All right, then, if we did, just one thing, if the record can show that joining us, excuse me, joining us in non-public, David Fredette, the city treasurer, John Griffin, the chief financial officer, Stephen Bolton, the city corporation counsel,
Off yet?
Larry,
We're done?
Larry Boudreau, the director of human resources.